Okay, we're going to do a little update on the covering. I had put the black stripes on the stab and on the main wing, and I got to looking at it and just thought it looked a little bare. So I decided to trim the edges with white, and I don't know, I think I got a pretty good pattern on it. It looks pretty good. Definitely different than anybody else's at the field. We got a couple other guys that have them, but I don't know, I may just have to hang this on the wall. I don't want to crash it, so anyway, we'll get on with the rest of it. We're back. Last night we left off with the engine mounting. We've got it all mounted up. Landing gears all installed, and we're ready to, actually all we like now is putting the electronics in it and balancing it. So we got to put the fuel tank. I haven't done that yet. So anyway, I've already assembled. Actually, I found another mistake on this kit. It didn't come with a fuel tank. But I have a whole drawer full of them, and I had one that fit right in the hole just perfect. So that's out of another Great Plains brand plane. But anyway, on these open engines, most people just put two lines. They put a pressure line from their muffler and then a line to the carburetor. Excuse me. But I went ahead and put a fill line. I don't know, I just like a separate fill line so I don't have to keep undoing my carburetor line all the time. It just seems to get weak after a while. So I did a three line, and then I put a little piece of masking tape around the end so I can feed it through the hole in the fuselage. So we're going to install that now, and see if I can manage to get this down in here and get it in the hole. So, alright, now I think we got it started, hopefully. Don't know. Yeah, there we go. I see the tape now. If I can just get it started up behind the engine there. Well, I didn't leave myself a whole lot of room, but I'll tell you what, some of these, the weight on the last ones we built is way nose heavy. So now we're cooking. Alright, we got our lines all out. Now, they give you a little wooden block, if I can find what I did with it. They give you a little soft balsa block of wood that you're, according to the instructions, you glue in the floor of the plane to hold your fuel tank in. The only bad thing about that is if you ever need to remove it, sometimes you'll bust the bottom of that ply on your, or balsa on the bottom of your plane getting it out if you have to remove the tank for some reason. You have a leak or whatever. So what I do is I use a harder, more solid type of wood, and I drill a hole through the bottom of the plane and into this block, and I put a screw in it, a screw and a washer on the bottom, and screw it into this block. That way it's very removable. All you gotta do is pull that screw out and you can pull your fuel tank out. So we'll install this block here and be back in just a minute. Okay, measured inside from this frame piece here to how far forward I want to go 1 inch, but I need to mark where that's at. So I'm just going to make a little mark right there, and we will turn the plane over, and it needs to go right in the center. So we'll just, just have to be pretty close. So we're going to put that right on that line, get the middle of the fuselage, and we're going to mark our 1 inch. And right there's where we want to drill our hole. All right. Now hopefully I measured right and I don't drill a hole in my fuel tank, huh? Nope, no fuel tank. How about that? A black one. Imagine that. Go with my plane. Now if I had a black washer, that'd be nice. But I don't think I do. So I will just find a flat washer. I still haven't sorted my box out from when I dumped it. So okay, now what I'm gonna do is I have to get the block. Well, actually this, yeah, I need to drill a hole in it. So alright, let's get the block in place. I'll tell you, I'll see if I can manage to drill through this without drilling a hole in my finger. You know, I've done that too. So alright, just have to hold that where it doesn't move on me. Wow, hang on a minute, I need to change drill bits. I want a little bit smaller hole. Yeah. Okay, I'll get my block back in here. There it is. And make sure my fuel tank's pushed all the way up. Alright, got my finger on my block. Now, while I still got my block in place, I'm going to try to get my screw in there, get going. And of course, I don't have the right bit in the screwdriver. This is fine doing this one-handed. Don't have my helper here again. He doesn't work with me on weeknights. Bill works. He drives 100 miles to work every day, so by the time he gets home, he's pretty wore out. I don't know how he does it. I couldn't stand to drive that far. Alright, I think my screw actually started in the hole. Maybe. I'm going to switch hands. I'm right-handed, so I'm having a hard time screwing with that thing. That direction. I can hold it better. Looks like I drilled my hole a little bit crooked. The bottom of this plane is fairly soft wood, so be careful not to put too much pressure and screw down too tight. I actually need a bigger washer there, but that'll hold it. Yeah, I don't know. You probably can't see inside there, but you can see my little block of wood right in front of the fuel tank, and that'll hold it in. But yet, if I ever need to take it out, it's real quick. Just take a screw out and we're done. Okay, we're ready to move on to the electronics. So I'll go ahead and get my servos out and get them all put together, since I've already showed you that part, putting them together, and then we'll come back. Excuse me. Okay, one thing I meant to show you on the fuel tanks, like I said, I do a 3-tube on all my planes, which if you do an in-cowl engine, you about have to, because you can't get to the carburetor line anyway. But these open trainers or sticks like this, you can do you can just pull the carburetor line off and fill it, but I'd rather have a fill line. I'll drop it at the bottom. A lot of people use colored tubing. They'll use green and blue and clear. One color for their carb, one for their pressure line, and one for their fill. If you don't have colored line or don't want to use colored line, you can use all the same color. What I do on my fuel tanks is I put 2 of the hoses to the bottom and one at the top. The one at the top is the vent that points to the top of the tank. That goes to the pressure line on your muffler. Then the 2 bottom ones, I know as setting in the vehicle, the left side is always my carburetor. The right bottom side is always my fill line. And another thing you want to do, so most of these kits, they come with 1 clunk. You need to put a clunk on your fill line too. It'll fill alright, but without a clunk in there, if that rubber hose is sticking up, it's not going to suck all the fuel back out, and you need to get your fuel out of this tank and not leave it sitting. But anyway, put you an extra clunk. I use a filtered clunk on the pickup line for the carburetor, and just a regular clunk for the fill line, and the same length back here, and that way when you drain your tank, it will you drain all that, get all your fuel, but just a little tiny bit. A lot of people don't realize, I have several friends that did not know, and I was surprised that on nitro engines with a pressurized line from the muffler, whenever you fly these planes, you need to, as soon as you're done flying, fill it back up. Anyway, back to the fuel tank. Fill up, when you get done with the flight, fill your tank back up, because there's exhaust fumes inside the tank, and those exhaust fumes will deteriorate this clunk line, the rubber hose, rapidly. If you notice, when you fill it back up, you'll see it pushing the smoke out of the exhaust. from that vent line. And then at the end of the day, when you're done flying your last flight, fill it up and push all the fumes out and then drain it. That gets all those exhaust fumes from the nitro out of there, and your clunk line will last 5 times as long. If you don't do that, your clunk line, you probably got to pull your tank out and replace that clunk line about once a year, depending on how much you fly. But if you do that, I've had tanks that I've went 3 years and still not rotted in there. So just a little tip in case you didn't know. Alright, we'll get on back to the servos. Okay, try to get the camera up here where we can hopefully kind of see what we're doing. We've got all 3 of our servos. We have our HS 425 ball bearings we're going to use for the rudder and the elevator. We have just a little bit cheaper high-tech HS 422. You don't have to have a really heavy-duty servo for the throttle. It doesn't take much torque for that, so use a cheaper one on it. Okay, on this particular plane, also we're going to leave the servo horns off at this time. They don't need to be on there because we got to put the little quick connects on them. And anyway, we're just going to mount these right now, and we'll go back and put our receiver in and we'll center them up and 90-degree them. So your rudder servo is going to be on the left side of the plane, and just run your wire down through. Let me get a pair of tweezers. That's kind of handy. My receiver, chances are I'm going to build a little platform right here to mount it on. I may put it up here. It just depends on where the battery goes. But anyway, I'll go ahead and run my wires all the way up through there. Hang on a minute. Let me get the manual. It shouldn't matter which direction your servo horn face, you know, the front of the servo, back or front button, just to see what they've got here. You know, they show all of them toward the front. A lot of times I alternate them so the arms don't interfere with each other. So I'll put the rudder servo over here, which is going to have a double-armed servo arm on it, because you're going to hook your linkage to your steering on one side and your rudder on the other, and that's what steers your plane. Then the the elevator servo will go in the center. I'll take it, feed our line through there, and get that in there, and then the other one, we will actually, I'm going to turn this one around, the elevator, because I don't want the arms. That gives you more clearance when they're staggered. And then the throttle one, we need to change the horn to the other side. Matter of fact, I'm just going to take it off, so I'm going to put a different one on here anyway. So we're going to take this one off, and the best thing you can do, put your screw back in your servo, just kind of screw it down in there a few threads so you don't lose track of it. I've laid them on the table here before and then knocked them on the floor and have to go hunting them, and it's kind of a pain. So just put them back in there. Alright, we'll feed that one through. Your throttle servo will go all the way to the right side of the plane. Just ought to get those screws out of it. Now, depending on the wood, how heavy it is, a lot of times I CA these holes too. Most of the time I do. Now, same thing here. Don't scoot your servo all the way up against the wood. Give yourself a little bit of gap, and the reason for that gap is vibration. You have your rubber grommets here, and look at this. Somebody has put this one together. This came out of a friend of mine's plane, but they've got the little grommets in on the top, which a lot of people want to do, but they go on the bottom because that should rest against the wood right there. So let's get those out of there, swap them around. And I'm missing one here. I'm going to have to go get one out of my box just here in a second. There's one gone out of it. This is a choke servo that I had mounted in my monocoop. Be right back. Let me go get a little deal. Get over here in the box. I keep a whole box of these on my little rubber grommets, all the servo horns, and usually this is full of screws. You can buy them separate too, and I just keep a ton of them on hand, because you just never know when you're going to lose some or break some or come up with some servos that don't have them. I buy a lot of used servos just for my throttle. You know, I check them out good when I get them, make sure they're okay, but I'll buy, you know, a lot of times I only pay $5 for these things. It may be a $15 servo, but it works great on the throttle. That's all you need. Okay, we got those switched over. Get my wire back up to here. Alright, we got those. We're going to run the servo horn on this to the front, and that way they're all three staggered. It gives more room so they don't butt up. Okay, there again, back to the wood. Don't slide it all the way up against it. Give yourself a little bit of gap for the vibration. These rubber feet on these is what absorbs that vibration. So if you're touching the wood with the casing, then you will get some vibration, and it's not good for your servos. Alright, we're just going to push that down real gently, drill our pilot holes. This is fairly solid wood. I may not have to CA these. If it's heavy enough ply, you don't have to. Okay, I'm going to hold that in place. I want to center the middle one. I want to give myself a little bit of slack on this far side here. So none of them are touching each other. And I got plenty of room around it, so that'll cut down any vibration I can. Okay, now I got my spacer. I'll hold this one. Okay, we got all them. Now, let's start with all right, let me go get my magnetized, this little deal. I've got a set of magnetized screwdrivers. I love these things because you can stick the screw on it and run it down in there. And you can reach it. Oh, there's my little grommet right there. It was on that screw. So anyway, we got a new one in it. Put those in. Just get them started in the hole, and then I'm going to use my little battery-powered pencil screwdriver. It works excellent for this. Saves a lot of twisting. A lot of screws go into these things. Just tighten it down until your rubber just starts to squish a little. Don't over tighten them. You want a little bit of absorption there for your vibration. If you tighten it down too tight, then it takes away from that. Of course, if you don't get it tight enough, then your servo can swivel and cause some slack in your linkage. So just snug them up to where they just start to squish the rubber. And these are really tight in this wood, so I'm not going to put CA in these because it's a pretty solid piece of wood. I have had kits that had just balsa almost right there, and the dadgum things will just fall right out, pull out. So the Great Plains, they're built pretty good. They're not a bad kit. You get into some of your cheaper ones. Nitro Plains out of California. We look at their website, they've got some great looking planes, and I have friends. I've had 3 different Nitro planes, and they were all just terrible. They're not built well. They're made out of really light wood. The landing gear is pitiful on them, how they're mounted. They don't stay on. Bill has one, a Zen 50, and we can't hardly keep the landing gear on it. But anyway, as far as we can tell, my little ultimate bipe, I got it from my friend Ken, and he doesn't remember what it is. He built it 2 years ago, flew it twice. It scared him. It was too much plane for him. So I traded him out of it, and the best we can tell from everything we've looked on the website, the pictures, it looks like a Nitro Plains, and if it is, it's built really well for a Nitro Plains. So they maybe not all be bad. But I've seen 3 of them that were just pieces of junk. I actually have a little 25 size Zen 50, and it's a piece of crap. I mean, it's just not built well at all. But anyway, my little Ultimate is excellent. It's tougher than nails, and we think it's a Nitro Plains brand. But your more name brands, Horizon Hobby, Hangar 9, Seagulls, Great Plains, Top Flight, you know, they're all really good. And of course, you want to get up in the big giant scale. You're looking at Aeroworks and wild hair and all that stuff. So I don't have room for a lot of giant scale. I don't have a way to haul them. I need a trailer. Nowhere to store them until I get a shop built. So I pretty much stay with the 40 to 90 size, because I can store them here in my little hangar room and work on them. So someday I'll get into more giant scale when I get somewhere to keep them and a way to transport them. I was going to buy me a trailer this year, and I had to buy a new truck. So there went that for a couple years. Alright, about got all these down. I love this little screwdriver. Got it at Lowe's, 10 bucks. Comes with a whole set of little bits. Runs on 2 AAA batteries, and for these little screws here, it's excellent. It's got just the right amount of torque. You're not going to strip it. It's almost like a torque setting on a bigger one. It screws these right down to perfect torque against the rubber. So the last thing we do on these is put the battery in. I've seen people put it together. The book shows to put the receiver right here and the battery right here. That's all well and good. It'll fit right there real good, but then if you're way out of balance, you're way nose heavy, you have nowhere to go. Well, you can build a little platform and put it right back here, but you need to do that before you hook your linkage up or you can't get to it. Some of these sticks, we've had to cut a hole in the belly way back toward the tail and mount the battery. Well, we moved the engine back a ½ inch. We're hoping to compensate for that. But anyway, I wait till the very last. The last thing I do is get the battery ready, and I don't build any kind of battery holder until I know where it's going to go. And we will put the wing on it, and we'll make our balance points. And what I'll do is I'll put a little piece of sticky tape on that battery, and right here where this compartment is, I'll stick it on top of the plane. And if it's nose heavy, then I'll move the battery back. I know I've got a compartment right here. I'll stick it on top of the wing right here. See if that works. If not, then we'll work our way back down the fuselage, sticking that battery, and the sticky tape keeps it from falling off on you until you determine where it needs to go, and then you mark that area. If it's back here, then you go to the bottom of the plane, cut a little hole out. I build a little platform out of light ply, and I use Velcro hook and loop strapping to strap it to that, and then I glue or screw that bracket inside the plane, because you don't want that battery coming loose and slinging around when you're doing loop-de-loops and stuff like that. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. So, alright, we got servos installed. I need to set my receiver in here. I'm not actually going to mount it just right now. I'll get it plugged up where we can center these and put the servo horns on. But first I'm going to go back and put the quick connects on the servo horns. So, be right back.